What's up, Black family? This is Super Mike. Just want to do this video. Drive time. I'm working at night, so this is why it's fucking dark. But we got a lot of stuff going on in our community. Good stuff. When we get activity and we're up in an uproar, and a lot of us are talking about the same thing, and it's about black business, that's a time for a smile to me, because that's what we should be doing. We should be concentrating on solutions to our black problems. And of course, we're going to argue about those solutions. But it's very important that we try our best to deal with each other in a respectful manner as much as possible, because when you insult each other from the get-go and try to invalidate a person's total life experience just because maybe they did make a mistake in their comment or they made an inaccurate claim, when we correct each other, it is very important to have that conversation in good faith. Because if you don't, you end up wasting a lot of time, because a person, they have an internal pride, and if you insult them, and like sometimes a lot of people are like, they have these conversations. Oh, these people, for example, they'll say the ADOS people are so stupid, they don't even understand XYZ, or people who listen to this content creator are so dumb. It's just because you are someone who doesn't like that content creator. For example, and I'll tell you me straight, I don't like Yvette Carnell and Antonio Moore. And I'll tell you why I don't like them is because they came against the do for self mentality in black people. And I don't like that. And but I can't say that everybody who listens to Yvette Carnell and Antonio Moore is stupid just because they don't agree with me. To me, that's our big problem in the black discourse. We gotta respect each other. We gotta try, train ourselves to do that. We're so respectful of white people when we have these conversations with them. When anytime we have a problem, we should be looking for them to capitalize off of it. When you have a difficulty, you always keep track of who your main enemy is. Okay? So that's my point. I just wanted to make those comments. We got a lot of, Tariq Nasheed came up with his competitive, his conference, and he expressly said that he was competing with the Revolt Summit. He's not competing with ADOS Summit and conferences. And Michi X came out. She was mad about it because she doesn't like Tariq Nasheed, so she's going to do anything to swipe at him. I don't know why she came out against him, because I don't think he even said anything for her. But I mean, Tariq does. This is one thing I really disagree with him on. He clowns so many people, and that right there is the reason why a lot of people, he created a lot of unnecessary enemies in the black community for no reason. But he was doing that on purpose, and people are kind of ganging up. But he's doing a good thing, and it's just going to make it more difficult for him to do that. But it's not going to be a bad thing. We're going to have to form organizations. Black people, the problem that we are having with people like Jesse Jackson, with the Rainbow Coalition, the problem that we're having with Al Sharpton and his National Action Network, the problem that we're having with some of these old black organizations who initially started as radical or good things, SCLC, Southern Christian Leadership Coalition, which is what Martin Luther King was headed up. Even the National Coalition of, the NCOBRA reparations organization, NAN, National, I forgot what they're called, but anyway, it's another reparations council with a bunch of PhDs. And even the old Black Panthers, the people who were in the Black Panthers, they're soft today. Angela, all of them, they're real soft. And the youth, we are a little more radical than them. And it's nothing wrong with that for us to be a little bit disappointed in them, but they took it to where they could take. But we should study them and learn the lessons. Now, I noticed a couple people in the ADOS movement, they think just because they get some politicians elected, they're making progress. But that's the same thing that the old organizations did. So it's not that we don't get our politicians elected, but the power that we have to develop, we have to at least have the power to organize and solve some problems. We need a funding base that is loyal to the Black community. And this may be over several organizations. Okay, because remember, back in the 60s, when Black folks were coming up with radical organizations, there were many of them. And there's nothing wrong with that, because eventually these organizations, in a programmatic way, they're going to start working together as they mature. But they have to start off, it's going to be contentious, but that's how organizations operate. I mean, that's how the union chapters operate. That's how you have even organizations that are government organizations, such as the FBI, or you can have organizations like Red Cross, First Aid, or so many organizations are out here that started long time ago, businesses, companies. So Black folks, we need to be hyper vigilant on some of this stuff that we're seeing, but we don't need to panic just because we see a split. Because when we see splits, as long as it's about, we're going to have those natural splits. That's part of the history. And I may do some more research and do a history on some of the major splits in history and show how those things fan out and actually end up growing. They end up growing the organization of that entire community, because you're going to have contentious points in your national development. And that's what we're seeing in Black America. And this stuff is happening in waves. Okay, our leadership was scared and cut off back in the late 60s, early 70s. Okay, but they did accomplish some things. So we had to go through that redevelopment period, and now we're seeing in the 2010s more Black organized groups that engage in politics, but the root of the organization is in the Black community. So if the politics, so that's what I mean. We have to engage in politics, but the organized portion of what we're using to engage in politics is not based solely on the politics of white people. And what I mean by the politics of white people is Democrat and Republican politics, that DNC and that RNC, those are organizations started by white people. Okay, they're going to control their stuff. So what I'm saying is we are developing organizations that need to be controlled by us, funded by us, and we advocate in the DNC, in the RNC, because they are the controlling political wings But at the same time, we have to have our black first, organized 100% was what we say go. And we have to be able to fund candidates and punish candidates who don't fit our agenda. We don't ask what a politician is going to do to develop our community. We have an agenda and we tell them to support our agenda. If they're going to do it, they're going to not do it. We already know what to do to fund and develop our community. Okay? So that's how organization, a real organization, works. That is loyal to. Now, our problem is, since our organizations were our radical leaders, a lot of them were killed off, and we didn't have many organizations that stayed loyal to the black community, and that's the reason why we're not seeing a good example sometimes of what a political and a Nation of Islam is loyal. And some you got other local organizations that are pretty loyal to the black community, but a lot of times they didn't overtly, push a political agenda. So that's the point. Your organizations have to stay loyal to your community and solve problems in your community directly, and they engage in politics. But their sole foundation is not politics. All right, so that's how I'm dealing with that. And all right, peace. Super Mike out.